the tensions had been brewing for months, simmering beneath the surface of their public lives. Sabrina Carpenter and YN, two of the hottest pop stars of their generation, couldn't seem to avoid comparisons whenever their chart-topping hits, their fashion sense, or their knack for commanding attention. The media loved pitting them against each other. Fans devoured every subtle jab, every supposed shade thrown in interviews or online. And that was fine, until Sabrina took it a step too far. It was during an interview at the height of their respective tours. Sabrina had been asked about collaborating with other artists. "I think it's great to work with people who have unique perspectives," Sabrina said, smiling sweetly. "It's just hard to work with people who feel manufactured, you know? They're just like trying too hard to be something they're not." The internet went wild. The vague comment was dissected, and somehow all roads led back to YN. When asked about it during her own interview a week later, YN didn't hold back. "Manufactured," she repeated, cocking an eyebrow at the camera. That's rich, from someone who practically writes all their songs for TikTok trends. But hey, everyone's got their own thing. The clip went viral, sparking heated debates amongst their fan bases. Was YN justified? Was Sabrina being unnecessarily shady? Behind the scenes, YN felt a little guilty about firing back so openly. She didn't know Sabrina personally. Not really. They crossed paths briefly at a couple of industry events, exchanged with polite smiles, but they were far from friends. Still, if Sabrina wanted to play the game, YN wasn't going to back down. The feud reached its peak during the overlapping tours. Fans posted TikToks comparing YN's arena shows to Sabrina's, each side claiming their favorite was better. Clips of Sabrina rolling her eyes when YN's name was mentioned circulated online, while YN subtly changed some lyrics in her song that included some not-so-subtle digs. Both artists were frustrated. "She's so obsessed with me," Sabrina muttered to one of her tour managers one night after a show. "Why can't she just do her own thing and leave me alone?" Meanwhile, YN vented to her best friend. "She started this. What was I supposed to do? Just let her walk all over me?" The turning point came at the Music Vision Awards. Both were nominated in several categories and scheduled to perform. The press had a field day hyping up their supposed rivalry, spectating whether they'd interact or not. YN arrived first, stunning in a shimmery black gown with thigh-high slits that left little to the imagination. She posed for photos with practiced ease, ignoring the shouted questions about Sabrina. When Sabrina arrived shortly after, she was equally dazzling in a silver dress that seemed to almost be designed to clash with YN's. The photographers went crazy, snapping pictures of her walking the red carpet just feet away from YN. The tension was palatable. Inside the venue, they were seated at the tables close enough to see each other across the room. YN did not try to look at her, but her eyes kept drifting to Sabrina, who was laughing with her team. The silver of her dress caught the light, making her seem almost ethereal. Sabrina, for her part, couldn't help sneaking glances at YN. She hated to admit, but the girl looked good. A little too good. The real fireworks started during YN's performance. Her energy was electric. Her voice was flawless as she belted out her latest hit. Sabrina watched from her seat, grudgingly impressed. When Sabrina took the stage later that night, YN found herself doing the same, analyzing her every move, her every note. She hated how magnetic Sabrina was, how effortlessly she made it all seem. The award for Best Pop Album was announced near the end of the night. Both YN and Sabrina were nominated. When Sabrina's name was called, she stood up with thunderous applause. Her smile was radiant as she accepted the trophy. YN clapped politely, masking her disappointment. As Sabrina just delivered her speech, she glanced in YN's direction, her tone pointed. "It's an honor to win this, especially knowing so many incredible artists were in this category. It just goes to show that staying true to yourself really resonates with people." The audience oohed softly, picking up on the veiled jab. Ryan's jaw tightened, but she kept an expression neutral. The afterparty was when everything came to a head. The venue was packed with industry elites, the air buzzing with excitement and alcohol. Ryan wasn't planning on staying long, but she wandered through the crowd, and she spotted Sabrina at the bar sipping a cocktail. For a moment, she considered leaving, but saying just something about Sabrina's casual confidence, the way she seemed completely unfazed by everything, made Ryan's blood boil. Before she could even second-guess herself, she approached. "Congrats on the win," Ryan said, her voice even but laced with sarcasm. "Thanks. I'm glad you could clap for me without spraining anything." Sabrina turned, raising an eyebrow. Ryan's lips twitched, both annoyed and amused. Careful, that crown's starting to slip. Sabrina tilted her head, a smirk still playing her lips. "And yet it's still out of your reach." Their banter was sharp. Each line was a challenge beneath the tension. There was something else, something neither of them wanted to acknowledge. "You know," Ryan started, leaning in slightly, "you talk big game for someone who seems so obsessed with me." Sabrina's breath hitched, her smirk faltering for a second. "Obsessed? Please, you're the one who can't stop firing back at everything I say," Sabrina said back. "Maybe because you're always saying something," Ryan shot back, her voice lower, more intimate. They were standing closer than they realized. The noise in the back of the party was fading into the background. Sabrina's gaze flickered to Ryan's lips before snapping back up to her eyes. "You're insufferable. And you're exhausting," Ryan replied. She whispered, but there was no real heat in her tone. It was just odd. For a moment, it felt like the word had paused. The space between them charged with something electric. But then someone called Sabrina's name, breaking the spell. She stepped back, her expression unreadable. "Good talk," she said coolly, before walking off, leaving Ryan's head racing after her and her heart pounding. That night the internet exploded with their blurry photos of the two of them at the bar, their body language sparking endless speculation. Were they enemies? Were they secretly friends? Or was there something more laying beneath the surface? Neither of them dared to comment, leaving themselves and their fans hanging in suspense. The next morning, Ryan sat on the edge of her bed, scrolling through her phone as the world slowly came into focus. The afterparty from the night before lingered in her mind. The look in Sabrina's eye, the words that were exchanged, it had felt like a moment, but neither of them wanted to acknowledge it. Instead, the internet was abuzz with their interactions and dissecting every little possible meaning. It wasn't long before her notifications blew up. She opened her DMs, surprised to find a message from Sabrina. It wasn't long, but it was enough to send a flutter of excitement through her. "You think you can just leave me hanging like that? Insufferable?" she texted. Ryan stared at the message for a moment, a grin creeping over her face. Her thumb was hovering over the screen, but then the words flowed freely. She quickly recorded a sharp note, her tone playful but sharp. Ryan's voice note. "You're welcome to think whatever you want, I guess, but I know exactly how to keep you guessing. I guess I just have a way of leaving people on edge." She sent the message and waited for Sabrina. Her heart was racing. The ball was in Sabrina's court now. Minutes passed, and then an hour. Ryan almost forgot about it when her phone buzzed again. It was then another voice note from Sabrina. Ryan's fingers shook lightly as she clicked play. "Guess not. I'm not the only one with a way of leaving people on edge. But hey, I'm not complaining. Let's see what happens when you're the one waiting." Ryan's brow widened. It was subtle, but Sabrina had just played the game right back. She quickly replied, but her words flirtier than she intended. Ryan began to text. "I'm not waiting, Sabrina. If you want to keep playing, be ready to keep up." The response came in mere seconds, but it was almost too perfect. "Keep up? You're not even in my league. But I can show you how to play if you're interested." Ryan bit her lip. This was getting interesting. The next day, Ryan woke up to something unexpected. Sabrina had posted a new song, a snippet on her Instagram story, a playful, almost teasing tune that echoed with some of the recent exchanges. Ryan couldn't resist the moment of boldness. She recorded her own response, turning the tables. The track was unapologetically flirty, the lyrics a direct challenge to Sabrina's implied charms. But it was a power play, a way of saying, I'm not backing down. She sent it to Sabrina privately with only a short note. I don't need to keep it up. I'm already ahead, Ryan texted. Sabrina's reply came almost instantly. You've got some nerve. I guess I'll just have to show you who's really leading the pack. Ryan could feel the tension in between Sabrina's words. The challenge was clear. She wasn't sure if she was ready or where this would go, but she didn't want to back down. Hours later, after a sound check for her new upcoming show, Ryan received an unexpected call. The number was unfamiliar on her screen, but something told her it was important. Ryan, this is Tom, Sabrina's manager, the voice on the other end said. I am calling on behalf of Sabrina. She's personally willing to reach out to you, but she's a bit tied up with rehearsals and she has a proposal for you. Ryan leaned back, raising an eyebrow. A proposal. Yeah, the manager continued. Sabrina wants you to join her on stage during her opening show as a surprise guest. We're planning on a collaboration. Something special just between the two of you. She's actually been pretty adamant about it. Tom continued, his voice a mixture of excitement and professionalism. What do you say? The offer took Ryan by surprise. Sure, she joked around with Sabrina and some playful digs with each other, but this, a surprise performance with one of the biggest pop stars in the industry, the fans would lose their minds. Are you serious? Ryan asked, trying to keep her voice calm. You want me to perform with Sabrina as her surprise guest? Tom chuckled. Yes, and I think it'll be a game changer. We've been watching how things have been heating up between the two of you on social media, and fans are loving it. This could be huge for the both of you. Ryan thought for a moment. She had no idea how Sabrina felt about her in this context, whether it was just playful flirting meant to, I guess, spark more of the rivalry that they had been playing. But one thing was for certain, it was impossible to turn this down. Yeah, I'll do it, Ryan said, her voice firm. Tell Sabrina I'm in. Great. I'll have anything arranged. It'll be a surprise during her next show. We'll send it over the details, but be ready for anything. The day of the show arrived, Ryan was buzzing with a mixture of nerves and excitement. She had no idea what to expect, and part of her was still unsure about Sabrina's intentions and what they were, but behind the surprise performance, they had exchanged playful messages. But this was different. This was real. The backstage atmosphere was electric. Ryan was dressed in an outfit that matched Sabrina's vibe, something sleek and daring and glittery. She barely had time to process everything when Tom came to find her. Ready? He asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I guess so, Ryan said, her voice slightly shaky. Do we just go out there? She asked, confused in how Sabrina's team did things. Not yet, he replied. You're going to make your entrance after Sabrina's first verse. She'll be singing whatever hits, and then you'll come out and drop the bomb. Ryan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of what she was about to do. This wasn't just a casual performance, this was a statement. All the lights dimmed, the crowd erupted into cheers. Ryan waited in the wings. Sabrina took the stage, glowing in the way that only she could. The crowd loved her, and Ryan couldn't help but admire the way Sabrina owned the spotlight. Just then, Ryan sang the opening notes, and just as she reached the chorus, the crowd gasped as Ryan stepped out of the shadows. Walking towards her, the audience screamed. Sabrina's eyes locked onto Ryan's, and for a brief moment, she felt like the world stopped. She smiled faintly at first, but it grew wider as it was their moment. Ryan reached the center of the stage. Without a word, she joined Sabrina together, and they harmonized, creating something electric. The energy between them was undeniable, but the chemistry was real. It was more than just a story. The song ended, and the crowd roared as Sabrina pulled Ryan into a hug, whispering something in her ear she couldn't quite make out. I think this is just the beginning, she said, her voice low. Ryan grinned, her heart racing. Yeah, she replied. I think you're right, she said out of breath. As they stood together basking in the afterglow of the performance, Wyatt realized whatever this was, this rivalry, friendship, or maybe something more, it was far from over. And with the world watching, they were excited to see where this would go.